All right. Hi, you guys. Here is our Chapter 9 primary source for documents on the slave rebellions of Denmark Vesey and Nat Turner. All right. I will not be directly answering the questions below. I will just be briefly discussing what they are about and the important information that you shouldn't skip over. Okay. What you need to do for the Denmark Vesey rebellion, there's just 2 documents about that. You just had to choose to read about one, okay, for the Denmark Vesey, right? What's important is to not skip this top information. Okay, this tells us a little bit more about the rebellion. So in 1822, Denmark Vesey was tried and convicted of planning a slave revolt in and around Charleston, South Carolina. A prosperous, meaning a wealthy, free black, Vesey was married to a slave woman. He was turned in before the revolt could be carried out. Okay, so we know automatically Vesey's rebellion didn't work. He was found out. Okay. Document 1 is a magazine article. Okay, it says that this is going to be the story of Denmark Vesey by Thomas Wentworth Higginson, a white abolitionist. Okay. All right. So basically, this is just his life story. All right. He was a slave for 20 years. Okay. The way he won his freedom was he won a prize of $1,500 and he bought his own freedom. Okay. So he wasn't born free. He did work as a slave for at least 20 years. Okay. What it ends up talking about later is that Denmark Vesey was trying to put in people's minds of the colored population against the white, trying to turn blacks against white. Okay, that's what this author is saying. All right. He rendered himself perfectly familiar with all those parts of the scriptures which he thought he could pervert, change for his purpose. Okay. And he would readily quote them to prove that slavery was contrary to the laws of God. Scriptures are books of the Bible. Okay. So this author is saying that he would try and change the meaning of some of these books to prove his point that slavery was contrary to the laws of God. Right. Now that doesn't sound to me like a very fair assumption by this author. Okay. But that's just my 2 cents. All right. Okay. Denmark Vesey would say that slaves were bound to attempt to get their emancipation, to get their freedom, no matter how shocking or bloody it might be. Okay. All right. Lastly, we hear more about this sentence that is pushed on Denmark Vesey. So we're listening to the judge talk about this. He's basically saying, you were a free man, you're good looking, you're wealthy, you've enjoyed like pretty much every comfort you could have in your situation. So you had so much to risk and not a lot to gain. Is slavery then something so detestable, meaning so evil, so bad, so dislikable, that a man thus favored, okay, meaning doing well, will engage in a plan to desperately try and rescue his children from it? Well, clearly this judge doesn't seem to get how bad slavery is. That yes, Denmark was trying to free his children from slavery. It was just found out. Okay, people found out about it. And that's what we learn in document 2, a report. The report is Negro Plot, an account of the late intended insurrection. Insurrection means rebellion or revolt, okay, to fight against the government, among a portion of the blacks in the city of Charleston, South Carolina, by James Hamilton, white mayor. Okay. Basically, this beginning part is just about how they came to get this information. Okay. That's all this first part is talking about. I'm going to skip down to right here. Okay. To sum up what happened earlier is basically a slave had a conversation with somebody else's slave. One of the slaves went back to his owner and said, hey, it sounds like there's going to be trouble. And this is that slave's words right here. On Saturday afternoon, Okay. My master being out of town, I went to market. After finishing my business, I strolled down the wharf below the fish market, from which I observed a small vessel in the stream with a singular flag. While looking at this object, a black man, Mr. Paul's William. Now notice that it says Mr. Paul's William. Paul's is possessive. That's what this apostrophe S means. If you had to guess, who would you guess William belongs to? Mr. Paul. So William is a slave. So this William comes up to me and, remarking on the subject which engaged my attention, said, I have often seen a flag with the number 76 on it, but never with the number 96 before. So basically that's how William got his attention, by they're both looking at the same flags. After some insignificant conversation on this, he remarked with considerable earnestness to me, do you know something serious is about to take place? To which I replied, no. Well, he said, there is, and many of us are determined to right ourselves. I asked him to explain himself, when he remarked, why we are determined to shake off our bondage. Okay? Bondage. Okay? To shake off our chains, to shake off slavery. All right, so at that point, that's when this slave is hearing, oh man, there's probably going to be a slave rebellion. So he goes and he tells his master. Okay, because at that time it was, either you told and you got to live, or if you didn't, you might have somehow be roped into that rebellion and possibly killed because of that. Okay, so that is about Denmark Vesey's failed rebellion.